They thought the competition was over before it started. The beautiful woman with the basic rifle didn't stand a chance against Special Forces operators with $50,000 worth of customized weapons. Iron sights versus advanced optics. Standard military issue versus cutting-edge technology. But when Captain Maya Rodriguez stepped up to the firing line, something in her steel-gray eyes made the laughter die in their throats. "Ma'am, this isn't a museum display," the team leader smirked. "Maybe you should observe instead of participate." Maya simply loaded her magazine and took her position. What happened next would shatter everything these elite operators thought they knew about marksmanship. Because the woman they were about to humiliate had learned to shoot in places where missing meant Marines died, where iron sights were the only equipment that worked when everything else failed, where a single shot could save a dozen lives or lose them forever. They had no idea they were about to witness the legendary Fallujah Ghost prove that the deadliest weapon isn't the one with the most technology. It's the one in the hands of someone who learned to shoot when failure wasn't an option. Welcome to Quiet Tales Studio. Before we begin this story of iron will and iron sights, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from today? And if you believe stories of quiet excellence deserve to be heard, hit that subscribe button and help us share these powerful tales. The morning air at Fort Bragg carried the sharp smell of gunpowder and the sound of controlled explosions from distant training ranges. Staff Sergeant Marcus Webb adjusted his customized HK-416 one final time, the carbon fiber stock gleaming under the North Carolina sun. Beside him, his Special Forces team prepared their weapons with the practiced efficiency of operators who'd learned that equipment failure overseas meant death. "Check out this beauty," Corporal Danny Chen said, running his hand along his modified Arkansas 15 platform. Custom trigger, match-grade barrel, thermal scope with ballistic calculator. This thing practically shoots itself. Sergeant First Class Kyle Morrison hefted his own weapon, a heavily modified M4, with so many attachments it looked more like a piece of space-age technology than a rifle. Suppressors fresh from the armorer, new Schmidt and Bender scope with digital wind reading. Marines won't know what hit them. Webb smiled, checking his own rifle's advanced optics system. "Gentlemen, today we show our Marine visitors what real marksmanship looks like. This competition isn't about winning, it's about demonstrating the difference between basic infantry and special operations." The competition had been arranged as a courtesy. A group of Marine officers was visiting Bragg for a joint training seminar, and someone in command had thought a friendly marksmanship competition would build inter-service camaraderie. Webb's team had volunteered immediately, seeing it as an opportunity to showcase their skills and equipment. "Who's coming from the Marines side?" Chen asked, performing a final function check on his rifle. "Some officers from their training command," Webb replied. "Probably desk jockeys looking to play soldier for a day. Should be entertaining." That's when they heard the vehicles approaching. 3 Humvees rolled up to the range complex, and Marines began dismounting with the crisp efficiency that marked professional military bearing. Webb's team watched with interest, evaluating the competition. Most of the Marines carried standard M4 carbines, military issue without obvious modifications. Their equipment looked functional, but basic compared to the high-tech arsenal Webb's team had assembled. "This is going to be easier than I thought," Morrison murmured, noting the lack of advanced optics on most of the Marine weapons. The Marine group was led by a lieutenant colonel who strode over to meet Webb. Behind him walked several other officers, including one who immediately caught the Special Forces team's attention. Captain Maya Rodriguez moved with the fluid precision of someone comfortable with violence, though her appearance suggested anything but. At 32, she possessed the kind of striking beauty that might have graced magazine covers in another life. High cheekbones, full lips, and steel-gray eyes that seemed to see more than they revealed. Her dark hair was pulled back in a regulation bun, and her utilities were pressed and spotless. But it was her rifle that made Webb's team exchange glances. Standard M4 carbine, no modifications visible. Iron sights instead of optics. A carrying handle that looked like it had been pulled from a museum display. "Is she serious?" Chen whispered to Morrison. Webb stepped forward to introduce himself. Staff Sergeant Webb, Special Forces, welcome to Bragg. Lieutenant Colonel Martinez, the Marine officer replied, returning the handshake. Appreciate you setting this up. My people are looking forward to the competition. Our pleasure, sir. We've got various stages set up. Precision shooting, rapid fire, moving targets. Should be interesting. Martinez nodded toward his officers. Let me introduce my team. Captain Rodriguez here heads up our marksmanship instruction program. Webb's eyes shifted to Maya, taking in her basic equipment with barely concealed amusement. Captain Rodriguez, impressive gear you've brought. Maya met his gaze steadily but said nothing, simply nodding acknowledgement. Ma'am, Webb continued, his tone carrying the slight condescension of someone speaking to a perceived inferior. This isn't really a museum display. We'll be shooting at distance with time constraints. Maybe you'd prefer to observe rather than participate. The suggestion hung in the air like a challenge. Maya's steel-gray eyes never left Webb's face as she simply loaded her magazine with practiced economy of motion and took her position at the firing line. I think I'll participate, she said quietly, her voice carrying the flat calm of someone who had nothing to prove. Morrison leaned toward Chen. This is going to be painful to watch. What they didn't know was that they were about to witness something that would redefine their understanding of marksmanship. Rangemaster Thompson called the competitors to order. Gentlemen and lady, welcome to today's competition. We'll start with precision shooting at 300 meters, 5 rounds, standing position, 2 minutes. Targets are standard silhouettes with scoring rings. Webb's team took their positions with casual confidence. Their rifles looked like instruments of precision warfare. Angular, aggressive, bristling with technology. Maya's M4 appeared almost quaint by comparison, its simple lines speaking to an earlier, less complicated time. Shooters ready? Thompson called. Webb settled behind his weapon, the digital scope providing a crystal-clear image of the target 300 meters downrange. Environmental sensors fed data directly to his ballistic computer, calculating exact holdover for the distance and conditions. Beside him, Chen and Morrison made final adjustments to their own advanced optics systems. The technology would do most of the work. They just had to hold steady and squeeze the trigger. Maya raised her rifle to her shoulder with fluid precision, settling into a shooting stance that looked textbook perfect. Through her iron sights, the target appeared as a small shape, requiring her to judge distance, wind, and trajectory through experience rather than electronic assistance. Begin firing! The first volley erupted across the firing line. Webb's team engaged their targets with methodical precision, their advanced optics making the 300-meter shots seem almost routine. Maya's first shot surprised them all. The sharp crack of her unmodified M4 was followed by Thompson's call. Captain Rodriguez, 10 ring, dead center. Webb glanced over, frowning slightly. Lucky shot, probably. The real test would be consistency. Maya's second shot rang out. 10 ring, center mass, came Thompson's confirmation. By her third shot, the Special Forces team was no longer focusing on their own targets. Maya's shooting rhythm was metronomic, steady breathing, smooth trigger squeeze, perfect follow-through. Each shot found the center of her target with mechanical precision. How is she doing that with iron sights? Chen muttered, his own shot landing in the 9 ring despite his advanced scope. Maya's fourth and fifth shots grouped with the others, creating a tight cluster in the center of her target that would have been impressive with a bench rest and telescope, let alone iron sights in a standing position. When the targets were scored, Maya had achieved a perfect 50 out of 50. Webb's team, despite their technological advantages, had scored 47, 46, and 45 respectively. Interesting, Webb said, his tone carrying a note of genuine respect now. Good shooting, Captain. Maya nodded acknowledgement, but offered no commentary on her performance. She simply began preparing for the next stage. Thompson called out the parameters for Stage 2. Moving targets, 200 meters, multiple engagement, 90 seconds. Targets will appear and disappear at random intervals. This was where the Special Forces team expected to shine. Their training emphasized rapid target acquisition and engagement, skills honed through countless hours of close-quarters battle drills and live-fire exercises. Webb's rifle was equipped with a red dot sight specifically designed for rapid target engagement. Morrison and Chen carried similar systems, technology that could acquire and engage multiple targets faster than iron sights could physically align. The targets began their sequence, pop-up silhouettes that appeared for varying lengths of time at different positions along the 200-meter line. Webb's team engaged with practiced efficiency, their training evident in smooth transitions between targets. Maya's performance was something else entirely. Where the Special Forces operators used their optics to rapidly acquire targets, Maya seemed to anticipate where the next silhouette would appear. Her rifle moved with fluid precision, iron sights finding each target with an economy of motion that spoke to muscle memory developed through extensive practice. Her rate of fire was slightly slower than the high-tech systems, but her hit probability was extraordinary. While Webb's team occasionally missed targets that appeared and disappeared quickly, Maya's shots found their mark with methodical certainty. "She's not just shooting," Morrison observed, watching Maya engage a target that had appeared for less than 3 seconds. "She's predicting the sequence." When the stage concluded, Maya had achieved 18 hits out of 20 possible targets. Webb's team had scored 16, 15, and 17 respectively. The casual confidence that had marked the Special Forces team's demeanor was beginning to crack. "Stress shooting," Thompson announced for the third stage. 100 meters, precision targets, but you'll be shooting after physical exertion. 50 push-ups, 50-meter sprint, then 5 shots at bullseye targets. Elevated heart rate, unsteady breathing. Let's see how well you perform under pressure." Chen flexed his shoulders. "Now we're talking. This is where training separates the professionals from the amateurs." The Special Forces team had trained extensively under stress conditions. They understood how elevated heart rate affected marksmanship, how to control breathing when adrenaline was flooding their systems. Their equipment included features designed to help: stabilizing systems, adjustable triggers, forgiving optics. Maya's basic rifle offered no such technological assistance. Iron sights demanded perfect alignment regardless of the shooter's physical condition. Any tremor, any breathing irregularity would translate directly to missed shots. Webb completed his physical exertion first, approaching the firing line with controlled breathing. His advanced optics quickly settled on the bullseye target, the reticle steady despite his elevated heart rate. Maya finished her sprint moments later, her breathing controlled but noticeably elevated. She took her position without hesitation, raising the iron-sighted rifle to her shoulder. What happened next defied the Special Forces team's understanding of marksmanship under stress. Maya's first shot, fired while her heart rate was still elevated from the sprint, struck dead center of the bullseye. Her breathing was controlled through conscious effort, her stance solid despite the physical exertion. "That's not possible," Chen said, watching through his spotting scope. "With iron sights after exertion, that shot should have been off target." Maya's second shot grouped with the first. Her breathing had settled into a rhythm that seemed to ignore her body's natural responses to physical stress. By her fifth shot, Maya had created a group that could be covered by a quarter. The Special Forces team, despite their technological advantages in stress training, had achieved less precise groups. Webb approached Maya's position after the targets were scored. "Captain, that was exceptional shooting. Where did you train?" Maya met his gaze with those steel-gray eyes that seemed to hold memories of places Webb couldn't imagine. "Fallujah," she said simply. The single word hung in the air between them, Fallujah. The name carried weight in military circles, representing some of the most intense urban combat American forces had faced since Vietnam. "First or second battle?" Webb asked, his tone shifting to something approaching reverence. "Both," Maya replied quietly. Morrison and Chen exchanged glances. Fallujah veterans were legendary in military circles. Soldiers who had faced combat so intense that it had forged capabilities beyond normal human limitations. "What unit?" Webb pressed. 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines, house-to-house clearing operations." Webb's respect was now genuine and complete. Marine infantry units in Fallujah had seen combat that most Special Forces operators could only imagine: daily firefights in urban terrain, close-quarters engagements, where split-second shooting meant the difference between life and death. "Jesus," Morrison said quietly. You're infantry. Maya nodded. Was infantry. Now I teach marksmanship to Marines who might face what I faced. The revelation recontextualized everything they had witnessed. Maya's shooting wasn't the product of range time and technical training. It was capability forged in life-or-death situations where missing meant Marines died. Thompson called out the parameters for the final stage. Long-range precision. 500 meters, single shot, winner take all. Wind is variable, light is changing. One shot to determine the overall winner. Webb looked at his rifle's advanced ballistic computer, watching it calculate range, wind speed, atmospheric pressure, and temperature. The technology would provide him with an exact aim point for the 500-meter shot. Maya consulted no computer, checked no advanced instruments. She simply observed the range conditions with eyes that had learned to read environments where electronic systems could fail, and situational awareness meant survival. The 500-meter target sat in afternoon light that created subtle heat distortions across the range. Wind flags indicated gusting conditions that would challenge even the most advanced ballistic computers. Webb's team prepared with methodical precision, their advanced optics systems calculating exact holdover and windage corrections. The technology would compensate for environmental variables that iron sights couldn't measure. Maya's preparation was different. She observed the wind patterns not through instruments but through experience. The way distant grass moved, how heat distortion affected different parts of the range, subtle environmental cues that technology couldn't quantify. "This is it," Webb said, settling behind his rifle. 500 meters, single shot, may the best shooter win. Maya took her position without comment, her iron-sighted rifle looking almost primitive compared to the high-tech weapons around her. The challenge was simple, one shot at a target the size of a dinner plate, 500 meters away, in conditions that would test the limits of both human skill and technological assistance. Webb fired first. His shot, guided by advanced ballistics calculations, struck the target near the edge of the scoring zone, a solid hit, but not perfect. Chen's shot followed, landing slightly closer to center, but still outside the bullseye. Morrison's effort was similar, accurate, but not exceptional. Maya's turn came in relative silence. The Special Forces team watched with newfound respect as she raised her basic rifle, settling into a shooting position that looked like it had been practiced thousands of times. Her shot broke clean and sharp, the sound echoing across the range as the bullet traveled its 500-meter journey. "Perfect center," Thompson called out. "Dead bullseye." The silence that followed was profound. Maya had achieved what advanced technology and extensive training couldn't guarantee: perfect precision under challenging conditions. Webb approached her position slowly, studying the woman who had just redefined his understanding of marksmanship capability. "Captain Rodriguez," he said formally, "that was extraordinary shooting. I owe you an apology for my earlier comments." Maya nodded acceptance but offered no words of triumph or self-congratulation. "Can I ask you something?" Webb continued. "How do you shoot like that with basic equipment?" Maya began disassembling her rifle with practiced efficiency. "In Fallujah, we didn't have the luxury of perfect equipment. Electronics fail, batteries die, advanced systems break. But iron sights work in dust storms, after IED blasts, when your rifle has been dropped in rubble." She paused, her steel-gray eyes meeting Webb's. "We learned to shoot with whatever worked, under whatever conditions existed, because Marines depended on that accuracy to go home alive." Morrison stepped forward. "The house-to-house fighting, how many buildings did you clear?" A shadow crossed Maya's face. "Too many to count. Every door was a potential firefight. Every room could hide enemies. Split-second shooting wasn't a skill. It was survival." Chen, his earlier mockery replaced by genuine curiosity, asked, "Why do you still use iron sights? You could have any equipment you wanted now." Maya finished packing her rifle, the movement methodical and careful. "Because I teach Marines who might face what I faced. If I can't do it with basic equipment, how can I ask them to?" Webb exchanged glances with his team. "Captain, would you be willing to share some of your knowledge? We're always looking to improve our capabilities." Maya considered the request. What do you want to learn? Everything, Webb said simply. How to shoot like that, how to read conditions without instruments, how to maintain accuracy under stress. Meet me here tomorrow at 0600, Maya said. Bring your rifles, but leave the advanced optics behind. We'll start with fundamentals. The next morning found Webb's Special Forces team at the range before dawn, carrying rifles stripped of their high-tech modifications. Maya had already been there for 30 minutes, setting up training materials with characteristic precision. First lesson, she said without preamble. Put away everything that thinks for you. Today you learn to see. Webb's team, accustomed to relying on technological assistance, found themselves struggling with concepts that seemed almost primitive. Reading wind through environmental observation rather than digital instruments. Judging distance through visual reference points instead of laser rangefinders. Maya was a patient instructor but demanding. She required them to make shots they considered impossible with iron sights, then showed them how environmental awareness could compensate for technological limitations. Your advanced systems are tools, she explained during a break. Valuable tools, but still just tools. What happens when they fail? What happens when you're operating in conditions that defeat electronics? Morrison, attempting to engage a target at 400 meters with iron sights, shook his head in frustration. How do you do it? How do you judge windage so precisely without instruments? Maya pointed to subtle environmental indicators, the way grass bent differently at various distances, how heat distortion patterns revealed air currents invisible to instruments. In Fallujah, we couldn't wait for perfect equipment or ideal conditions. We had to shoot accurately with whatever worked, whenever Marines needed support. She demonstrated, engaging the same 400-meter target Morrison had struggled with. Her shot struck center mass, iron sights finding their mark through pure skill and experience. The equipment doesn't make the shot, she continued. The shooter makes the shot, equipment just makes it easier. Over the following weeks, Webb's team continued training with Maya. They learned to read environmental conditions through observation, to maintain accuracy under physical and psychological stress, to shoot effectively with basic equipment. More importantly, they learned humility. The technological advantages they had relied upon were revealed as enhancements to fundamental skills, not replacements for them. There's something else, Webb said during one of their sessions. About Fallujah, what really happened there? Maya was quiet for a long moment, her gaze focused on distant targets. Every building was different. Every room held surprises. We learned to clear spaces where advanced equipment was liability. Too bulky, too fragile, too dependent on conditions we couldn't control. She paused, memories flickering across her face. I developed techniques for close-quarter shooting that kept Marines alive. Iron sights that worked in dust and debris, shooting positions that could engage threats from impossible angles. How many Marines did you save? Chen asked quietly. I don't count saves, Maya replied. I count the ones who went home. Webb understood. Maya's reputation wasn't built on kill counts or technical achievements. It was built on Marines who survived because of her capabilities. Word of Maya's training sessions began spreading through the special operations community. Operators who had heard stories of the Fallujah Marine who could outshoot anyone with iron sights began requesting training opportunities. Maya approached each request the same way. Strip away technological dependencies, focus on fundamental skills, learn to see and think rather than rely on instruments. Her reputation evolved from that of a skilled Marine to something approaching legendary status. The woman who could make impossible shots with basic equipment, who had learned her skills in conditions that would break most operators. Webb's team became advocates, spreading word of Maya's capabilities and teaching methods. They discovered that true marksmanship mastery wasn't about equipment. It was about understanding, observation, and skills developed through intensive practice under real-world conditions. She's not just a good shot, Webb explained to a group of visiting Delta Force operators. She's redefined what's possible with standard equipment. Watching her shoot is like watching someone speak a language the rest of us don't understand. The Delta operators, initially skeptical, became believers after witnessing Maya engage multiple targets at extended range using nothing but iron sights and environmental awareness. Where did she really learn to shoot like that? One asked, after Maya had demonstrated precision that defied their understanding of iron sight limitations. Fallujah, Webb replied simply. House-to-house combat where perfect shots meant Marines lived and imperfect shots meant Marines died. Maya's influence extended beyond marksmanship. Her approach to training emphasized mental discipline, environmental awareness, and the kind of fundamental skills that remained effective when technology failed. She became known not just as an exceptional shooter, but as an instructor who could transform good operators into exceptional ones by teaching them to see beyond their equipment's limitations. "What's your secret?" a Navy SEAL instructor asked after watching Maya demonstrate shooting techniques that seemed to violate physical laws. Maya's answer was characteristic in its simplicity. There's no secret. Just fundamentals practiced until they become instinct, and instinct developed under conditions where mistakes have consequences. 6 months after the competition that had revealed Maya's capabilities, Fort Bragg established a new training program. The Fundamental Marksmanship course, designed to teach advanced operators how to maintain effectiveness without technological assistance. Maya led the program, teaching students who arrived convinced that advanced equipment was essential for precision shooting, and leaving with understanding that true mastery came from skills that no technology could replace. Her students included Special Forces operators, Navy SEALs, Marine snipers, and Delta Force personnel, all arrived with advanced equipment and technological confidence. All left with profound respect for capabilities that didn't require batteries or digital processors. Webb, now a regular assistant instructor, observed the transformation in each class. "They come in thinking equipment makes them elite," he told Maya after another successful training cycle. "They leave understanding that elite operators master fundamentals so completely that equipment becomes secondary." Maya nodded, watching new students arrive with their high-tech arsenals. "In Fallujah, we learned that survival depends on skills that work when everything else fails. That's what we teach here." The program's reputation grew quickly. Operators who had trained with Maya became advocates, requesting her instruction for their own units. Stories of the Marine who could outshoot anyone with iron sights spread through the special operations community. But Maya remained focused on the mission that had driven her since Fallujah, preparing operators for conditions where technological advantages might not exist, where fundamental skills could mean the difference between mission success and failure. "What's next for you?" Webb asked during one of their training sessions. Maya considered the question while observing students struggling with concepts that seemed simple to her. "This," she said simply, "teaching operators that true capability isn't about having the best equipment. It's about being able to accomplish the mission with whatever equipment works." She paused, watching a student finally achieve accuracy with iron sights that had seemed impossible an hour earlier. Every operator who masters these fundamentals is an operator who can succeed when conditions are less than perfect. That's what we owe the Marines, sailors, soldiers, and airmen who depend on us. The legend of the Fallujah Ghost continued to grow, but Maya remained focused on the practical mission of preparing others for challenges that couldn't be solved with technology alone. Sometimes the most important lessons come from those who learn them in places where theoretical knowledge becomes life-or-death reality. And sometimes the greatest capabilities are found not in the most advanced equipment, but in the most fundamental skills, practiced until they become instinct. Have you ever met someone whose capabilities seemed impossible until you understood the conditions that developed them? Someone whose mastery came not from advantages, but from overcoming disadvantages through pure skill? Tell us in the comments about the quiet experts in your life, the people who achieve extraordinary results through fundamental excellence rather than technological shortcuts. And if you think stories like Captain Maya Rodriguez deserve to be heard, subscribe to Quiet Tales Studio. We believe the most powerful capabilities often come disguised as simple skills, practiced by people who learned them when failure wasn't an option. Until next time, remember, true mastery isn't about having the best equipment.